The brain is said to be the most vital part of the human body. It controls everything we do, from basic motor functions to complex interactions and thinking mechanisms that allow us to do our basic jobs every day. Yet no one ever really brings to the forefront the impact of injuries to the most crucial part of our body. Every day you go to work or school, chances are you will see somebody with a cast, a splint, or a brace and wonder what happened. Or think, wow, I bet that broken arm really hurt. But what about the injuries that you can't see physically? This is one of the scariest things when dealing with concussions, injuries to the brain. The side effects and recovery can be hidden from normal, everyday people. This is no more true than in the NFL or any football game. In fact, Duffy Daugherty, who used to be a head coach at Michigan State, wife asked him, "Aren't you afraid yelling at them big boys the way you are and playing that tough contact sport?" Duffy stopped her, not to defend himself, saying that he was not scared of the boys, but he said, "Football is not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. Dancing is a contact sport." This was the outlook until a few years ago in the NFL and football in general. The harder the hits, the more vicious the hit. You was rewarded for that. Players would get concussions, run off the field, throw up, feel dizzy, couldn't see straight, get a nudge from the coach, stumble back on, and go at it. This was referred to as getting your bell rung. It was not called a concussion until about 10 years ago, when players started taking medical time off for concussion protocols. Alison Danisco wrote in her academic journal, Coping with Concussions Beyond the Field, athletes with undiagnosed concussions who continue to get hit in the head are at an increased risk for diseases such as dementia and Parkinson's later in life. Luke Kuechly, who's an NFL linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, played high school football at St. Xavier in Ohio. Luke was involved in a tackle where he went to hit somebody and led with his helmet. Luke immediately fell to the field, went to one knee, ripped his helmet off. You could see by the look in his eyes he knew nowhere of where he was at. He was so scared, in fact, that he started to cry on the field. The trainers walked over, helped him on a cart. You could see by the look in his eyes that he had no idea what was going on or where he was at all. Luke Kuechly is a beast. He is a huge man, one of the tough men of America. The concussion brought Luke to his knees and brought him crying on national television. This is what concussions can do. Another incident happened this year on Monday Night Football. It was a hit Danny Trevathan laid on a receiver, Davante Adams. He hit Davante Adams so hard it actually caved the front of his helmet in flat against his skull. Davante Adams was not completely unconscious on the field. Immediately, players from both teams stood up and immediately called for trainers. But what is the punishment for a hit like this? The punishment is a 15-yard flag and a minimal fine to players making millions a year. That is the punishment the NFL has sanctioned for a hit that will undoubtedly affect a player's career and life after. CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is a degenerative disease caused by repeated concussions or blows to the brain. The terrible thing with CTE is there's two really. The first, it is 100% undiagnosable until you have died. They will then take your brain out of your skull, sever it in two, and study what's inside. This was the only way to confirm CTE. The second, CTE messes with your basic motor functions. This includes memory, feelings, speech, even walking. A neuroscientist named Dr. Reardon said clinical symptoms of CTE emerge 8 years after serial concussions, around age 43 on average, but that time varies widely. This was true with Junior Seau. He was an all-pro linebacker for the San Diego Chargers and New England Patriots. Junior Seau's mom went on TV and praised her son for being the best son a mother could ever have. Junior was a great father and a great husband. A couple years after Junior retired from the NFL, he got arrested for domestic violence. His mom said in an interview that was not her son. Her son wouldn't do stuff like that. She was very right. Junior had turned into somebody that was not her son. Junior began to spiral out of control. From that moment on, his life got dimmer and dimmer until he killed himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest. Now you may ask, why the chest? Junior figured that he had CTE. This was his way to help players now and in the future. Junior shot himself in the chest so medical examiners could take his brain and examine it for CTE. They said that Junior's brain was one of the worst they'd ever seen. It was rumored that Junior took over 1,500 bell-ringing hits in his career. 1,500. It takes one concussion to begin the onset of CTE. He took 1,500 to his head. At the end of me telling you these horrid stories, I want you to decide, is the NFL, a league across the country, really doing everything they can to speed up the process to protect their players? Or, because people still tune in on Sundays and players come back from concussions the week after they get them to play another day, is it forgotten? If you're like me, who has children who idolize the Odell Beckhams and Cam Newtons of the NFL and want nothing more to start playing football and emulate them, do you let them? I believe, based on my knowledge of the subject, there needs to be an age limit to play football. And there needs to be research done to make sure helmets like this are more safer for our kids and safer for our NFL players.